We all got secrets.
For all of my straight and bi men listening and my gay and bi women listening, everybody who has sex with women and wants to do better, I've got a product for you. Have you heard of Kenneth Play? He is an Adonis of a man, and he has put together a video course teaching others how to please women the way only he knows how. I have personally had the pleasure of spending an intimate evening with Kenneth. I don't think I've ever had a first-time sexual encounter with somebody that was just 100% pleasurable. There was never a moment of pain. There was never a moment of meh. He knew my body better than I knew my body. He found pleasure spots in me that I did not know I had, and he made me come many times. I have gifted his web course, Beyond Satisfied Pro, to lovers of mine, and in every case, they have become better lovers as a result. And now I would like to gift this to you with a 15% discount. Go to kennethplay.com/closeted. That link gets you 15% off Kenneth's Beyond Satisfied Pro course. This is just for my listeners. Trust me, no one regrets being great in bed, and this course will get you there. kennethplay.com/closeted.
We all got secrets. We all got secrets. We all got secrets. We all got raise a glass and bear your soul. Oven kept in hiding, served with bleach and Molitor. Oven kept, we all got secrets.
We have Amanda Dames, the Kink consultant, here today. I am so excited to talk to you, Amanda. You're so beautiful and you're so cool and you're so smart. Thank you so much for coming and being on the ClosetEd interview series.
Oh my gosh. First of all, thank you. Right back at you. I'm loving how we're already starting on such an even adoration of each other. So thank you for having me.
It's so strong. Like, I feel like you could have been my sister in another life. Not gonna lie. There's a vibe. All right. So Amanda, for the listeners, is a certified sex and relationship coach who specializes in helping couples navigate kink dynamics in their relationships. She also has a really cool Instagram. She kind of accidentally became an influencer. We're going to talk about that. And she has a Substack, which I am subscribed to, as well as her podcast, The Kink Consultant, which is such a good listen. I've been binging it recently to prepare for this interview, but now I'm like a certified fan. So Amanda, you are just so prolific in your content creation, and you're reaching a lot of people, 161,000 followers on Instagram. It's so impressive. And I'm curious to know, how did you get this way? Like, what is your origin story? Every superhero has one, so let's hear yours.
I'm still asking myself, how did I get this way? But I'm so already locked in. First of all, I'm going to take that intro and replay it anytime I'm questioning my life decisions, because that was a beautiful intro. Thank you so much. It's really nice to hear that. Yes, it's really nice to hear when the work I'm putting in is like well received. I always say I was born kinky. From the age of 5, I knew I was obsessed with spanking.
Oh.
Later I realized it's not actually spanking. I'm obsessed with punishment, but when you're 5, the only punishment you know is like a spanking, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So from that age, I knew I was like, weirdly, I was like, this isn't normal, so I'm going to keep it to myself.
Wait, can you tell me the first time something happened, that like how it affected you and like how it felt in your body? I'm really curious about this.
Okay. I had some best friends growing up, and their parents always threatened to spank them. I don't even think they were bad kids, but that's neither here nor there for me to say, nor do I think kids should be spanked. I just think that like they were always getting threatened to be paddled. And I cannot explain the intrigue, the excitement, the like, do it now in front of me, like feeling I had when they would be threatened. And that's the first memory I have of being excited by it.
So you weren't spanked as a kid by your parents, but listening to your friends talking about their parents threatening to spank them gave you turn on as a 5-year-old.
Excitement. I didn't understand turn on, but
right,
I understood
of course not.
Excitement. But what I will tell you is, I have an excellent memory of my childhood. I do not remember being like hit once. Okay. And I think I purposefully blocked it out so I could enjoy my sex life as an adult. That's my take. What I will
Okay.
say is I actually had my mom on the podcast and I asked her directly, did she spank me as a child? And I was very open with her. The idea was I wanted to understand, did you know my whole life that I was quote unquote weird? And she was like, no, I didn't know you were into this. I had no idea until you got older and told me. And we talked a little bit about it. And one of the questions I asked was, did you spank me? Because I think everyone understands this. When people talk about a kink or a fetish, and I'll get more into that, the automatic assumption is, oh, there's trauma. Oh, they were punished as a child or something like happened to them as a child. And that's not always true. And
It's
I'm
not always true.
Yeah.
It's sometimes true, but not
Yes.
always.
Yeah. So I talked to my mom about that because I felt like a weirdo. And I'll use that term lovingly now about myself. But I had a really complicated relationship with being quote unquote weird when I was younger. So through the years, like from age 5 to 13, I kind of harbored this thing of like, I was obsessed with it. I would think about different scenarios where I was being punished or punishing somebody else. And like, as time went on, those punishments changed. It wasn't always spanking. Sometimes it was just like more extreme things. And I wasn't always the one being punished. Sometimes I was doing it to boys in my head. I was dreaming about it. When I was 13, I was babysitting across the street. The kids were in bed and I was like flicking through all the channels. And I grew up in Ireland where cable had dirty TV on it. Anyone who's listening in Ireland, England, Europe knows that like cable there is not the same as in America. There's no like blocking out bad words. It's very explicit. There was a couple on the show and this documentary type of show, and they were going to see a professional dominatrix because they were both submissive and they wanted a dom to dom them.
Ooh.
And as a 13-year-old, this should have been shocking to me, but instead it was the most calming thing I had ever watched because I was like, oh my God, all of the pieces fell into place. I'm kinky. What I'm interested in is sexual. I had not understood. I was 13 years old before I understood it was sexual. And when I'm 18, I'll just go pay a dominatrix to do this for me. So I had all these like things fall into place. And,
Wow.
luckily over the next 5 years, I realized I can get my partners to spank me. I can have this in my life. I do not need to go pay a professional dominatrix to do it. But it was this pivotal moment in me understanding who I was sexually. And sometimes part of my origin story is that I call myself a late bloomer. I don't think I properly masturbated till I was like 17 or 18. I was much older because this interest in fetish was confusing to me, and it made it hard for me to understand what I was actually interested in was sexual. Okay,
Right.
So
there's not a ton of resources or social permission or any kind of representation, at least when we were growing up. And I assume we're close to the same age.
yeah,
So yeah. Wow.
there wasn't.
Okay. Nothing.
So I then flash forward, one failed marriage, partly because of my interest in kink that I wasn't prepared enough to talk about with a partner where I was able to mention it. I was living in New York City, trying to make ends meet, and I needed a second job. And part of me, I definitely needed a second job to pay rent, but I wanted it to be interesting. So I answered an ad on Craigslist to become a professional dominatrix
Oh, yes, you did.
a dungeon. Yeah. And a lot of it was a dream job for me. I was so excited to have this experience. And some things that people don't know about dominatrixes is that like you don't have sex with your clients. What you're doing is you're providing a service to them where you're playing with their headspace to provide this like escape from reality, right? And sometimes it's a real like punishment with a cane or spanking and impact, but sometimes it's just some gentle bullying that they're asking for in a way to like relive some maybe of their own trauma that they're like reliving with authority. So what I did was I did that work for 2 years and it was truly one of the best jobs I've ever had. A new client would come in, you'd have to go meet with them and try and like convince them you were the right person for the session they wanted. Every job I got was like a new acting role. And I'm not an actress. I'd love to be, but I'm not. But in that room, I was acting. And I just got to get into people's heads a little bit more. I wasn't the best dominatrix, not because of my acting skills, but because like, I don't know, I was 24 years old and I wasn't like I was a baby. I didn't know how to take control of a 55-year-old man who was running a company and like make him feel like he was beneath me.
But how fun to try.
It was fun. It was very fun to try. So
way to fuck the patriarchy.
Let me tell you, with a strap on, you really are. So
thank the patriarchy.
Yeah. I would end up talking to them. All of my clients. I'd have half the session was doming, half of it was more in-depth conversations. And I started to piece together things about the relationship or the people's relationships. Everyone I spoke to said, I wish I had known this about myself younger. I wish that I had been willing to marry someone else. But this is a statement and a phrase I heard over and over again. Quote, I married the person I was supposed to marry. And I never really asked them what that meant. My understanding was they married the trophy wife, the woman who was going to look beautiful, give them kids, and stay at home, and give them the traditional life their career demanded of their partner.
Right.
And it made me sad because I was like, my major takeaway from this career that I had for 2 years was I need to make sure that I never live my life in a way that I'm trying to appease anybody else. And that I'm trying to live to societal standards. I need to live for what I want. And I kind of took that. And I say that this was a career because it changed the trajectory of my career path. However, at the time, I was moonlighting as dominatrix. I was literally working at the Wall Street Journal as their one of their customer service trainers. So I was traveling around training customer service agents for the Wall Street Journal how to stop people from canceling their subscription during the day, would close my laptop at night at like 5 p.m. and run the 10 blocks down to the dungeon I worked at to start my shift there. So
when was this? What years was this?
2013 to 15.
I was in New York. We were probably running past each other on the street.
Oh. That's
amazing.
I love that you were there at the same time. It was a great time to live in New York City, too. It was.
I had a couple of professional dominatrix friends then. We might have mutuals. I'm going to check.
I think we probably do. Like, there's no way we don't because you knew enough of the same people. Because I would not just work there. I would go to parties in the evening and I was like living the life at the time.
Wow.
Yeah. So I ultimately had to give up that job because I was being sent. Then I got actually good at my my day job, and they were sending me around the world, like literally to Hong Kong, the Philippines, like to do this work of training customer service agents. So I couldn't
glamorous.
do both. It was glamorous. At the time, I was like, then I was 25, 26, and I was like, I've made it. I'm flying business class, like to Hong Kong. Like, what more can a girl want? But I needed, I had to make a choice, and I obviously chose the career that taught me a lot about business, which helped me become the person I am now, but I always missed that work. So, rounding out the origin story, about 10 years into working in corporate America, I realized I can't keep doing this. I miss this work so much. I want to become a sex and relationship coach. So, you can edit this out. I don't know if I mentioned this before. I had one of those, I really was looking for a way to have that back in my life again, that type of work. I had a dream one night. This is a creepy woo-woo story.
I love creepy woo-woo. I'm definitely not editing out creepy woo-woo. I'm all about it. Yeah, we're keeping it.
I was having one of those dreams. You ever see in movies where someone's dreaming and then they wake up and they were like, wait, I was just doing this because the dream was so real?
Yeah.
I was in the shower, washing my hair, and like an oracle angel was like talking to me through the shower curtain. I understood this, but I didn't see her. And she was telling me what I needed to do with my life. She said, you need to be a life coach. And I can't tell you how real this moment was in the shower, like washing my hair, doing this, like listening to her. And I woke up and I immediately thought, I don't want to be a life coach, but I would be a life coach for sex. So I Googled life coach for sex. The first course that came up was called Somatica. And I did an intro call with one of the founders. Her name was Danielle. And the warmth from this woman, the understanding, the guidance and direction told me that this was the right course. So I took this 2-year course and it changed my life. So that was that is how I became a sex and relationship coach. However, I still had a job at the time that I was the director of retention at Peacock, NBC's streaming service. So I had a real big girl job then, not just like training customer service, which was still a big girl job. But I had a team under me. I was like multiple levels up. And I wanted to advertise my services, but I couldn't go out as Amanda Dames, the sex and relationship coach who wanted to specialize in kink. So what ended up happening was I started in TikTok, a TikTok account called myself the Kink Consultant, and started to make videos to promote kink and talk about kink so I could get clients without saying I'm Amanda Dames. And that's how I started my business as a sex and relationship coach. Okay, that's my origin story.
So you were like kind of closeted for a while from your job.
A year and a half. I was closeted for what I did. And I was doing these videos secretly, showing my face, but like there wasn't a lot of crossover. Although one time a year in, a woman came up to me in the cafeteria and she said, well, you've got your whole TikTok thing going on. I follow you. And I was like, don't tell anyone. But she was like, no, I'm not telling anyone. I'm so proud of you. And so like some people found me and were into it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. That's so cool. That's kind of the thing that I see a lot. Like my whole show is about people who are closeted, and I don't have like a moral stance on whether people should be closeted or out, because there's really great reasons to be closeted in this world. And it can be a haven. It can be your safety and your security and allow you to have your life be what it is. So like being closeted, it's not, I don't view it with a negative connotation. But what's so cool about it is when you are sort of like stepping out in certain areas of your life, but not others. And then there's that crossover. Often you'll get people who are like, you inspire me to be my more authentic self. And it's those little signs that show you that like there's a lot of people pretending and who are looking for social permission from folks like us.
Yes.
It's so cool. All right.
No, wait, I couldn't have put it better though. People are looking for social permission. Like I will have clients come and ask me to teach them to be more comfortable about it because they see me being so comfortable about it and being online talking about it. And, you know, what I do with them is I'm like, okay, what you're actually feeling is shame. And you want me to help you remove the shame. And then we work through that because that's some of it there. And you're right. There's validity in keeping it private too. But when you're so private, you're scared to talk to your partner about it is when that really becomes an issue.
100%. Like my guests, the ones who are able to be open with the closest people in their lives, even if they're closeted everywhere else, they're happy.
Yeah.
The ones who have to hide it from people who are really close to them, those are the ones that I sense a lot of shame from. Those are the ones that it's like harder to get the interviews to get granular and juicy with. Those are usually also the ones who have a lot of edits for me on their episodes.
I totally understand because you are dealing with like the people who might have shame around it because this is their secret.
Yeah, it's really
My
heavy.
podcast has less of that because I'm usually talking to other influencer people like yourself who are really open about talking about their own viewpoints and experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And no shame to either side. Like I understand how hard it is to be open.
So when did you finally leave corporate America and start pursuing this full time?
September of last year, so September of 2024. And it's not exactly the happy story I want it to be necessarily.
Yet.
What happened was I had moved to Vegas. They removed my remote status, like they took it away. And I just looked at my business and I said, this is the sign. So I told them, okay, I'm not moving. I'm going to give up the job. And on the last day of my job, knowing that I was doing this, I finally told everyone you know how when you leave a job, you write an exit email saying bye to everyone? I just said like, this is what's next for me. I'm the Kink Consultant. I put my links up and I said like and follow for more and signed off. And it was just like my own personal mic drop of this is what I do. Like
that.
And it was freeing to be myself and just say like, this is who I am. And now like my old colleagues follow me. Now, a lot of them I don't think they're like listening to the podcast every day or anything. But what I will say is they'll like some of my posts. Sometimes people will follow me and they'll be like, oh my God, all of these other people I know are following you. And it's like, yeah, because kink is for everyone. It's not just for like this niche group of people who look a certain way. And I find that because of how the media portrays it, people expect anyone into it or like wearing I don't know, tattoos all over. There's just like an aesthetic people expect kinky people to have.
Leather.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like people think of like leather daddies and like girls
Yes.
getting whipped, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
And it's
Or
such a wider world than that.
it's so wide. It's unfair, but like that's what the media takes the most ideal like view or like whatever is going to look best on camera, and they run with that because
Whatever's
they
going
don't
to
want
be
to
the
use a lot
most,
of
they choose whatever's going to be the most inflammatory to
yes
put on camera.
and easy to pick up what's happening without it being like a smack on the butt can mean 400 things. A woman in bondage means one thing. Actually, it probably means two. It depends on the type of show you're watching. Do you know what I mean? She's either been kidnapped or she's really enjoying herself in bed. Like those are your two options when you see a woman in bondage. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I wanted to circle back to one thing because I feel like I never got the whole story on this, but you said you interviewed your mom on your show about if she ever spanked you. Like, what did she say?
She said she would. So my mom is from Ireland, and so she is Irish, and she would use the word smack. So she'd like threaten or smack us with like one smack. Apparently, I remember none of this. And like, apparently I would like run past her if I knew it was coming to like not get it. And I don't think she like ran after me or anything like that. My mom it's not that she wasn't strict. She was just so much more about having a conversation with me than actually physical punishment. Even to like, my mom and I have an extremely close relationship because of how she raised me. And she raised me to be so open. I joke with her on that episode of like, well, because you were so open, I now feel free enough to talk about my sex life on the internet.
And obviously she's supportive because she's coming on your show. That's so cool.
My mom has always been extremely supportive of me and my decisions in the most guiding, empathetic way. You know, even if she sees something that she doesn't think is the right decision for me, she'll say, I don't think this is what you're doing. I think maybe twice in my life has my mom ever been like very stern with me about decisions I was making in a way that she was worried about me. You know, she just acts as a guide. I would encourage anyone who is listening to this and wants to hear that episode. It's one of my favorites. It's episode 15 of my podcast, The Kink Consultant. And
I'll link to it in the show description.
I would love that because I think my mom gives really good advice just on how, like, if you find out someone you care about is interested in this, like a relative or something, how you should approach it. So yeah,
that's
please
cool.
do.
Yeah, I'm going to go listen to it. All right. So I didn't prep you in advance with this next question because it just occurred to me, but I think you're going to enjoy answering it. So when you're working with a couple, and you've worked with dozens of couples and hundreds of people in your, in your, this beautiful new chosen vocation, how would you, if you were working with a couple that was like, we think we're into this, but we don't know anything about it, educate us. Like, where would you start? How would you speak to them? What are the terms you would teach them about? You know, what's the foundation you lay?
I ask everyone about their desires, their fantasies, and what they masturbate to. That's where I start. I go straight for the jugular when they tell me because I want to introduce them in a way that is organic and authentic to them. And I don't want to force someone into kink is so wide. The spectrum is huge. You could tell me you want to learn more about kink, and imagine I take you down the path of impact play, right? And everything is being hit or hitting someone. But your actual interest is bondage or even extreme, bondage and kidnapping. Do you know what I mean? Without pain, but just this idea of being whisked away and controlled. I need to understand what their interest is, because kink could be anything from just a light touch that says, and someone saying, you're mine, you belong to me, you're going to do what I say, or it could be something very extreme of, I'm literally going to torture you until you say mercy. And I know that those are extreme things, but I want to know where someone's starting point is. And then every so often, I'll get someone who says, I really don't know, I don't masturbate, I don't have any fantasies. I have yet to meet someone who actually doesn't have fantasies when we peel away the layers, peel away the shame, and talk about what their desire is for their own romantic life. Sometimes people's romantic story is that they want pure romance and that's their fantasy, and I can work with that. It doesn't always have to be about kink, it's about desire.
Do you have Are you willing to share any stories from clients of yours, without naming names or any identifying details, of course, that stand out to you as being particularly illustrative of what we're talking about, or that were surprising or interesting, or you think might help other people listening?
Yeah. Okay. I have a couple who I can't say I have favorites. But I will say this. When we are talking together during couple sessions, they make me laugh so much. They are just one of the warmest couples, who have navigated ups and downs really well in their relationship. And one of the things is this man has been into chastity and wanting to be caged. So a chastity device is like a plastic cage you put on your penis and it stops you from getting hard. He has wanted to be in chastity for probably at minimum the last 15 years of his life, So he was interested in it, and the way he introduced it into the relationship was really not good. He brought it up at the wrong time, forced it in the wrong ways, not physically forced it, but would be like, well, I want this, I want this, I want this, without navigating the conversation well, without including his partner in being part of the journey, and instead just saying, I want this, do this for me. And that wasn't what was working for either of them. So they had spent years in this cycle of him bringing it up, her being like, no. And then I do not know what changed for them, but they booked a consult with me. I spoke to both of them on the phone for this consultation. And I make it very clear with everyone I work with, I can't promise that your partner is going to be kinky and doing all the things you want by the end of it, but here's what I'll work on you both with. And it's like, where's your curiosity levels? How willing are you able to meet? And what I always say is what I try to do, and I'll get into the specifics, but I'm concerned, what I'm trying to do is build a bridge between two people. And I say, you need to tell me where you want this bridge built. In 3 years, I don't want you to come back to me and say, well, also, I always had this fantasy, but I didn't want to do that. Tell me everything. Partner, tell me what you can do and where where your hesitations are. And then I work with them to figure out where to build that bridge together. And then we start connecting and we start finding things. So for the first thing about chastity is I understand chastity enough from the work I did as a dominatrix, from having clients individually who are into it, from just being in the scene of the kink scene for many years. So I kind of understood his headspace, and I talked to him about it, and I understood what he hoped to get out of it. For his wife, what I talked to her about was, I want to understand for you what you want to get out of it. Like, this is what it could be for you. This is the benefit you can have in your relationship from it. And I would see her eyes light up a little bit. And she's like, oh, I never thought about that. Oh, that's super helpful. Oh, I'll think about that.
It's not just for him. It's also for me.
And pointing that out is a huge way that I help people build a bridge. I'm like, okay, well, what do you need out of this? And I started to tap more into what her desires were and what she wanted from it and what she was willing to do and where her discomfort levels were and how to overcome them if she wanted to. And my big thing with everyone is this something you want to do? And it's a valid reason to want to do it because you love your partner. What's not a valid reason, in my opinion, and I just checked for this was not the situation, is it's never a valid reason to do it because your partner has the purse strings and you're scared if you don't do it, you're going to end up on the street.
That's coercion. That's not
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm always checking for that and making sure the partner is really interested in trying. So although that's like one story of a couple, I cannot tell you how often the chastity part comes into my job of men wanting to be in chastity, men wanting to be submissive, and I teach a lot of women how to dom their husbands. So that's just less specific because people want to be dommed in different ways.
Right.
So I teach people that. And then I teach a lot of husbands how to dom their wives because in my experience, women who come to me don't want to teach their husbands to be doms, or their partners. So that's where I step in. And I jokingly say, you come to a woman to learn because I understand your partner, as opposed to, I think a lot of men do want to talk to, a lot of people do want to talk to a man to understand the dom perspective from a man. But I know that my insight has helped, I see these just the penny drops or whatever. People are like, oh, that's what's going on in her mind. And I'm like, yes. And I know this because I speak her language. And there's a lot of success in that too. Yeah. So it's a lot of teaching people how to be dominant. That's so much of it. And then every so often I have couples where one partner is dominant and I teach their partner how to lean into their submission a little bit more. And that's honestly a little trickier to navigate because
Really?
for
Why?
someone who's not naturally submissive, I think between society, corporate America specifically, you're taught to want to be in a leadership role and you're taught that being a leader is success. It goes against the grain if you've spent 45 years of your life being taught how to be a leader and how being a woman means being strong. And then you have to learn how to be submissive. That's really tough for some people,
Yeah.
and there can be joy in it. And that's where we really lean on, well, what are your desires? And I lean on that to see, like, is there any thread of submission I can pull on to help you tap into that energy?
Wow. Yeah, this is so cool. Okay. So I want to
Is
ask
it?
you, yes, it really is.
Okay.
It's fast. I have like so many follow-up questions. It's too much for the hour
Oh,
that we
good.
have.
Okay.
I want to ask you, so my show likes to pull people in with promises of juicy, salacious tales of scandal and sexual adventures, but it's really an education show. And the whole point of it is to give you human stories that amplify your compassion and understanding and lower the volume on judgment and stigma and shame. So because I'm an education show, I would love for you to break down, as an expert on kink, the broad categories of kink so that people who don't know anything about it but are curious can kind of start to understand, like, that's kink, that's kink. Like, a lot of people don't realize that certain things that they might be into are actually kinky.
Yep.
So can you give us a primer on kink?
Yes. So I'm going to start with one that I think is an umbrella term that a lot of people use, dom and sub, for dominance and submission, or dominant and submissive. That's power exchange. And that's an umbrella term that I would encourage anyone who thinks they're into any type of someone taking control in the bedroom per se. And I say it that way because I think that's the most common narrative people hear is like, oh, I want them to take control in the bedroom. Look into power exchange. And there's a lot under that. There are a lot of different types of dominance and submissives. There's a lot of different ways power exchange can look. And I'm going to give a really simplified version of it. I think a really common, maybe it's only in my world, a common fantasy is doctor-patient or even doctor-nurse. And the idea is the doctor is in charge and he's dominant and he's going to tell you what to do. And he's much more knowledgeable. So you have to listen to him. That's a dominant position he's in. The role play there is that you are listening to what he's telling you and doing what he says, like a good patient or even a good nurse, and that same for boss secretary, teacher student. Yes. Like all of these things, that's a power exchange. So there's role play within that. But what's happening is you are suspending disbelief of you are like, okay, this is the moment I'm in. I'm actually going to play this role of the submissive person and I'm going to submit to this dominant person. I'm going to give them the power in this. If anything like that sounds interesting, that's power exchange. Now you get a little bit deeper. Some power exchange involves, like the teacher-student. My personal favorite is being punished by the teacher for not doing my homework, or even worse, cheating on my homework.
Bad girl.
Such a bad girl. I need to be punished to make up for this.
I have a ruler right here.
Do you? I probably have one around here too. Okay. The thing about that is that's impact play. So I'm submitting. That's not necessarily power exchange. The power exchange is in saying I will submit. How I'm submitting is through impact play. Okay. And that could be any type of, if you've ever want to be spanked, paddled, hit with something, that's impact. Now imagine a different scenario where, look, there are tons of kidnapping scenarios that people are turned on by because it's exciting.
I'm very turned on by kidnapping scenarios. Lots of my fantasies involve that.
Yes.
Like getting kidnapped by like a limousine full of sexy men who are just going to do things to me and then drop me off on a street corner.
I love that.
Strong fantasy for me.
I also love how it's high end. It's like they're in a limousine.
It's a limousine.
The back of a 1980s porno van. They're in a limo. Okay.
And I arranged it in advance. Like I'm waiting on the street corner to be like grabbed by these men.
Yeah. Okay. So there's some, it's like you want to be used in that.
Yeah.
So free use, consensual non-consent, perhaps. right? And that's where you've given consent, but whatever happens to you in that limousine, hopefully you still have your safe word, even in fantasy world.
Always.
But you have that ability to play with it, right? Consensual non-consent. They're going to do whatever they want to you because you've signed up for it. There's another element of power exchange. You're giving someone power to do what they want to you. Bondage. Imagine then they tied you up. And even
That's
if
part of
just,
that same fantasy, yes.
Okay. Bondage is another element of it. And bondage doesn't always have to include power exchange. It just could be play, of like, oh, it feels good to be tied up. So please do that because then I feel secure and I'm not as conscious about my body. Sensory deprivation. Sometimes I feel really sensitive about how I look and I'm really insecure. No matter how much I coach on it and try and work on it myself, it comes up. A blindfold means I don't have to look at myself. So I'm deprived of that sense and it really improves my overall experience.
I never thought of using a blindfold for those moments. That's so smart. Oh.
It is the simplest hack that works so well. Another, like PSA, for women who feel embarrassed about partners going down on them, either because they have to look at a part of their body in a way they don't want to, or they're just so concerned about how do I taste, how do I smell. You taste and smell great, by the way. Everyone, you need to understand that vaginas just have a certain smell to them and taste. A blindfold removes you from that. It can. Maybe for other people, it's like, well, now I'm just thinking about that. Play with it. Play with the sensation. So those are some entry points for people when I'm trying to pick out what they might be interested in. For other people, they might just want to be worshipped. Let's talk about something that's nothing really about power exchange. It's just about worship. Another kink. Maybe what you want is let's take your kidnapping scene and flip it on its head. We'll still talk about multiple partners. But instead of being kidnapped, you are on a day bed on the ocean, like on the beach, and the sun is kissing your skin, and men are serving you grapes and cocktails. You look beautiful. You feel beautiful. You are there to be adored. And men are coming up and giving you massages and worshiping you and telling you how gorgeous you are and seeing you.
This was never a fantasy of mine, but now it is.
I'm
in this.
Yes. And you deserve to be worshipped because you are special. Being told you're special might do it for you. Or maybe being told that you've been working so hard and I see how hard you're working and you deserve a little bit more love and attention. So I want you to relax and I want you to enjoy this. Take all of the pleasure I want to give you. That might be your fantasy too.
That's so nice, Amanda. That did something for me. Thank you. You're good at this. She's good at this.
And in that, like, that's the spectrum of kink. And the reason is, like, do you know why what I described as kink? It's being worshipped. It's being held in a space where you feel safe. And all sex and intercourse should be that. But that is beyond I love you too, penis and vagina sex. And anything outside of that and anything outside of the norm, and now blowjobs are considered the norm. Outside of that is the spectrum of kink, and I just wish more people understood that.
Yeah. I mean, it's even kink to like love your hair being pulled, or to love pulling hair. These things that I feel like people, because so many people have been trained on sex through porn, think of as just part of normal sex, but that's actually kinky sex. Like kinky sex is pretty normal. It's pretty ubiquitous. It's not this like alt culture community that's off in a corner being weird by themselves. It's like rampant spread throughout society. And a lot of people just don't even realize that they're engaging in it because we only associate kink with dungeons and whips and chains and like, the most extreme things. Like blood sport is a part of kink, but that's like it's like on the outer edges, scat and golden showers is a part of kink and that's on the outer edges. And that gets a lot of play in public because it inflames people and makes people go, oh, those weirdos. But like those are two tiny parts of a very, very, very big umbrella that most people, I would say, probably have fit into at one or another point in their lives, or at least have dabbled in and experimented with.
And a lot of the things you just described are actually, they fall under an umbrella of something called edge play because it's so extreme. It's dangerous. And some things are less extreme and scary in general, but it's still called edge play, like pickup play. You go to a party and you let someone spank you. That's edge play because you're picking someone up and just playing with them, even though it's not sexual. But knife, like any sort of sharp objects, blood, all of that. Definitely edge play, not because a knife is sharp, but because it might include blood or needles are sharp.
Right. And breath play is another one.
Yes. Breath play can be very dangerous. I know that, and especially in the wrong hands. I mean, like, no pun intended.
This
but
would include anything
someone
that restricts your breath, just for anyone who hasn't heard that before.
Yeah.
And
So
blood
that
sport
can be
involves
dangerous.
actual drawing of blood. And let it be known that these are things that require real training to do safely. So unless you are a medical professional or you've gone through a training course to learn how to do these things safely, like, don't just try this if it excites you because you heard it for the first time on this show. Like, there are resources to learn how to do it safely. And that includes breath play as well. There's a safe way to do it. You should be trained.
Yeah. Well, arguably, recently, in the past few months, I'm struggling with this on a personal level of when we're talking about strangulation, choking. It's really common in porn. I am a fan of it. It can lead to higher risk of stroke, and that is something I'm struggling with, to be real, of like, okay, can I actually teach this? And then can I do it in my own life and preach differently? Like, where is the move there?
Yeah. And where's the line?
Yeah. And that's something I struggle with. Oh, can I mention another PSA type of thing that I always think is really important to mention? We're talking about kink. Kink is something that is really fun to do and would be considered a nice to have. But there's also something called fetish. And a fetish is a need. It is for someone who cannot achieve orgasm without thinking about or playing into what their interest is. For me, we started this podcast by me explaining, like, I was obsessed with punishment. At the time, I thought spanking, but it's actually punishment. That is a fetish for me. I cannot come without thinking about something in that world. The reason I bring this up is because I do work with some couples who are like, they've gone to therapy, they've gone to sex therapy, they've gone to many different types of people. And because even the best kink sex therapist might not be as kink informed as I am in this world, I will talk to partners, and for them it's a fetish. And then it becomes not this nice to have. It's not something that will just disappear no matter how much their partner wants it to. It is something that person, in order to achieve orgasm, will have to imagine or think about. And that can be it. You're just running the fantasy in your head. Your partner never even needs to know, but you think about that even in one of those moments. That's one part of it. The second part of it is that then I work with couples who are kinky, and I always talk about, well, I need you to prioritize this for me. Where does this lay on your priority list? Is this a need, or you cannot stay in this relationship, or it would be nice to have and you want to spice it up, but there are other ways you could connect? So that's why I like talking about kink versus fetish, because any couples who are listening to this, or any non-kinky people who think like, well, I don't understand why they need it this much, you might want to explore whether or not it's a fetish. And also, fetish has such a bad name because every illegal activity, it gets labeled a fetish by people who don't understand the definition. So the final thing I will say is, I have one rule when I talk about it so people understand the difference. As long as it's consensual between adults and legal where you are, you're good to go. And legality is complicated because even impact play is illegal in Las Vegas. They're not really into the BDSM scene.
Really?
A lot of cities have that rule where you can't actually have a dungeon even if no sex goes on there.
Seriously?
Yes. Dungeons are illegal. If you Google this,
in only Vegas of all places,
it starts to make sense. If you Google this, only one dungeon was ever shut down, and it was because the owner was bragging about having a dungeon. The law basically, so first of all, prostitution isn't allowed in Vegas either because they want everyone spending money on gambling. So there's this law that as long as your county is under 700,000 people, sex work is legal. If it's over 700,000 people, Clark County, Nevada is like the largest county in Nevada, and it has over 700,000 people. It's illegal there because you can't even play the lottery in Nevada because they want every single cent going into the casinos.
I didn't know this.
And then on top of all of this, Vegas genuinely is a mafia town. I feel weird even saying it, but it is true. They're okay with sex. They're okay with strip clubs. What they're not okay with is weird kinky stuff. And that's a lot of people will say that is the reason it's illegal in Vegas.
Huh. And yet, I would imagine a lot of these mafia guys engage in very kinky styles of sex,
Yes.
going in both directions, dom and sub, in their personal lives. My guess is that all those bitches are closeted and they have a little bit of shame about it, and that's why they're mad about anybody else doing it in an empowered way.
Yes, in an empowered way. People love to explore it for themselves, but as soon as it's okay and not a secret shame, it's almost like the act of being ashamed about it makes it okay to do. But the moment you take away the shame from the act, it's like, well, you're a deviant. But for some reason, you're shameful about being a deviant. It's okay. That's how I feel about it.
I think that is what our world has normalized when it comes to sex. Sex negativity is normal.
Yeah.
And patriarchy is normal and misogyny is normal. When you start to empower people, both women and men and everyone in between, about their own sexuality, it fucks up the power dynamic of patriarchy.
Yeah.
And so we need people to be engulfed in shame, especially around their sexuality, because sexuality is one of the surest paths to feeling like life is worth living and feeling authentic and feeling like you have the energy now to offer the world whatever it is that you were born to offer. I know so many people who've spent way too much time in their one precious life engulfed in shame over their sexuality, and it plugged them up creatively.
Yeah, because you actually spend so much energy trying to deal with it as opposed to accepting yourself that like it really stops other things from flowing. I always joke, my fetish, if the need isn't met, I compare it to dieting. When I'm on a diet and can't eat chocolate, all I think about all day is chocolate.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I still think about chocolate a lot, but I'm not obsessing over it on this call because I know that the minute I'm off, I can go get chocolate. Do you know what I mean?
I'm going to do that too.
Yeah. I compare it to that because once you starve yourself of it, it makes it really hard. Okay. Oh, there's this other quote from a book. My caffeine is hit. So
I'm into it. This conversation's flowing. Go.
Yes. I read a book once. It's called The Siren, or it's this original sinner. Don't quote me on it. It's by Mother. Why can I not think of it? Anyway, I'm just going to quote this book. It's a fiction book, but there's a quote. A fetish is the pet you feed or the beast that eats you. Meaning as long as you're accepting of it and treating it well, it's going to be good to you too. And you're going to have a loyal, wonderful bond. The minute you treat it less than, the minute you throw shame onto it, that is going to eat you alive.
Mm-hmm. That's where you get people who feel like they are addicted. They're sex addicts or they're porn addicts. I really, really think that this whole thing about sex addiction and porn addiction is a natural result of demonizing sex and shamifying sex.
And telling people what they need to be loved is a certain amount of sex, a certain amount of prowess, a certain amount of this weird achievement. It's like, I don't understand it. I think it's part of the patriarchy as well of like, oh, you're only a real man if you're out fucking, you know? And maybe there's a certain extent to it. Teenage boys are when I was a teenager, I remember guys like that really was all that was on their brain. And then you reach your 20s and 30s and it's still definitely on everyone's brain, but not in the same way.
There's so much more I want to get to. We only have a little bit of time left, and it's my instincts are saying let's talk a little bit about the popular misconception that kink is about suffering and sadism and pain, when in reality none of this stuff is pleasurable for anyone unless it comes with consent and aftercare. So,
yes.
I'm just going to let you speak on that because I'm sure you have lots to say.
Let me go. Okay, number one. I try not to get involved in the arguments of online content creators around kink because I genuinely believe kink as a whole is sort of like, I don't know if you're familiar with Christianity. There are multiple different sects of Christianity.
Am I ever?
You could be Episcopalian, Roman Catholic, some sort of other type of Anglican like Protestant, Lutheran,
Southern Baptist.
Yes. all of those things have the same like general book they're reading from, but everyone's interpretation is super different. And God fucking forbid you get real and like you argue against one of them. People will come out really strong and be like, that's not how this is. I watch Kink creators and think of it like that all the time because I'm like, oh God, here come the Pentecostals and pretending that like it needs to be this specific way or it's not legit kink. Okay.
Here come the Pentecostals.
Thank you for letting me be on my soapbox about this because like I cannot get over this. Bothers me a lot. One of the things that I hear a lot, and this is me, I'm going to get like extreme on this. I often hear people saying like, well, enthusiastic consent isn't always legit because like sometimes people do things they don't want to. And it's like, well, then that's coercion. And I need to hear enthusiastic consent from someone, even if they're like, I'm scared as fuck, but I'm not turning back. To me, that's enthusiastic consent. So yes, every situation, in my opinion, needs enthusiastic consent. You need people who are on board and fully understand it. If you have someone who doesn't have enthusiastic consent, what that tells me is they have questions that aren't answered, and that's why they're not sure they can say yes. So I encourage everyone to talk in depth. One of the things I do with clients who think they want to explore a new kink is I make both of them sit down and tell me exactly how they imagine it going. I'm like, are you on the bed or are you standing up? And they'll answer and I'll say, is that what you imagine too? Because I want to point out to two different people that they're not thinking the same thing no matter how much they think they are. You know, what they're imagining is different. So enthusiastic consent and talking things through. Everything's a negotiation. And you're negotiating
in advance of the actual encounter or scene. You negotiate it like not while you're in it and making it up as you go. No, you like set the agreements in advance.
Yes, exactly. And you don't stray from those mid-scene unless it is to stop the scene. There's no like, oh, go harder. So the reason you do that is because you've negotiated the scene, you've agreed on things, you've said this is or is not going to happen. And if anyone's playing for the first time, my recommendation is you don't say this isn't going to happen or like I do or don't want this. You tell them only the things they're allowed to do and tell them not to step outside of that box. They get a checklist. These are the 5 to 10 things you are allowed to do. Anything not listed here is outside of my comfort zone because I don't know about it yet. So that's the starting point. Okay. It's negotiated in advance. And then what can happen sometimes when you play, and it doesn't even have to be physical sensation. Sometimes you're so excited about having your fantasy met. And imagine, okay, let's use the day bed on a beach example. Imagine your fantasy is like being worshipped and just told you're amazing and given a massage and told you deserve this level of treatment because you are worthy of this level of love and no one's treated you right until now. That can put your brain on a high. I see it and I believe all of those things for you, but your brain might go into a high place and you might start feeling like you can conquer the world. But your brain chemistry might be a little altered. Yes, the oxytocin endorphins are rushing through you like a good workout at the gym and you feel invincible. And that might change what you can actually handle. Even if you tell a play partner, don't kiss me while we play. Like imagine you set up that scene for yourself, the bed worship scene, and you're like, okay, we could do all of this, but don't kiss me on the mouth because that feels very intimate to me and I'm not ready for it. But then you feel like a queen, a goddess, the goddess that you are. And you're like, okay, kiss me because you're taken with it. Afterwards, you might be like, I didn't want that before I went in. Something happened during and after I regret it. That's why we say don't negotiate mid-scene. Don't renegotiate. While you can always withdraw consent, giving new consent in an altered state of mind might not be the best way for you to go about a scene.
Would the way to handle it be like make a mental note and then negotiate it in next time?
Let's talk about aftercare. Okay.
Yeah.
One of my favorite pieces of aftercare is what did you like? What could be better next time? Is there anything I could improve on? Right? So what did I like? I liked being worshipped and having my feet massaged. What could be better? I was really vibing. And I think next time I'd like to talk about going a little bit further and maybe kissing, if that's something you're open to. What could I do better if I'm like to the foot massager? Like, it's okay for you to touch my legs and my upper thighs, no further, but I think next time you could go a little further in that way too. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe the person had permission to touch their entire body and they stayed down there. It's like, I give you permission to go a little further next time. aftercare can also, aftercare looks like different things. Do you have a type of aftercare that you enjoy?
I haven't explored like much more than what I call kink light in my own encounters. And the only people I've ever done that with have been people that I felt tremendously safe with. So, but it was kink light. It wasn't like negotiating a scene in advance, in the granular way that you have to when you're doing like true kink. But it was, like, I like these things. You can do these things. I've been in a few dungeons. I write and I talk about sex a lot, and I find myself in these spaces. And, I remember once I was at a dungeon as part of the Naughty and Nollins conference, which is a big swingers conference. It's not necessarily a kink dominated conference, but they had a dungeon as part of it. It was beautiful. And I remember seeing this guy whipping this woman, and these were both like older people. And she was just like loving the whipping she was getting, but it was like pretty intense. And then afterwards, she sort of collapsed into his arms, and he picked her up like a princess and like cradled her and carried her to this soft little nest that they had nearby, and just held her and stroked her hair and her face, and she just leaned into him. And it was like the sweetest thing I'd ever seen in the middle of this kink dungeon right after this same person like was whipping her.
Yeah.
And it moved me. It touched me. And it was one of the first moments that I really understood, oh, that movie Secretary wasn't just sensationalizing things, although there are aspects of it, I think, that were a little sensationalized, but like, this was something that everybody who was participating wanted and got something really beautiful and human and loving out of.
Yeah.
I always think of that when I think of aftercare, that moment.
It's the beautiful repair, and it feels so good. That feeling it's hard to describe. But like, I would not say go to the extreme just to experience it. I think anyone who's having any type of intimacy, it doesn't even have to be sexual, can experience aftercare,
Yeah.
After the high, catching each other as you drift back down to life,
and that can enhance all sexual encounters, honestly, like even really casual, no strings ones, like just teaching people about aftercare can make so much sex so much better and leave a better mark on your spirit.
Exactly. Hearing you say it in your voice especially was like very like, it landed so well. Yes, it can leave a good mark on your spirit, and just, it leaves you with a sense of empowerment, I think, being the submissive partner. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what people don't get. All right. Amanda, I know you have to go, and this has been such a great conversation. Where can people find you? What do you want people to focus on? Where can you be followed? Tell us all the things, and I'll put them all in the show description as well. AmandaDames.com. All of it is there. So you can go to my website and book a session with me, see some of my online classes there. You can also follow me on social media, and I wish you would. On Instagram, I'm _Kink Consultant, and that's where I post most regularly. You can find my podcast anywhere you get your podcast, the Kink Consultant Podcast. In March, I'm going to be hosting a retreat, a couples retreat. Me and my dom are going to be helping other people who are at a similar place in their relationship where they want to formalize a dynamic, and we're going to be working with couples to do that. So again, all through my website. AmandaDames.com. Follow her on Instagram, on TikTok. Follow her Substack. Work with her. Listen to this podcast. It's so good. Amanda, this has been such a joy and a delight. Thank you so, so much for coming on ClosetEd, and I can't wait to come on your show. Yes, absolutely. We will be recording in January for February. Yes. Yes. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Bye. We all got secrets. We all got secrets. Thank you, Pinecones, for listening to the ClosetEd interview series, my between seasons content I'm bringing you while I work on season 2. How cool is Amanda Dames? I put all the links to her Substack, her podcast, her website, her social media in the show description, so check that out. And please, if you haven't already, rate and review ClosetEd on whatever platform you're listening on. Your reviews really help get sexy new listeners to find the show. And please reach out to me, closetedpodcast@gmail.com.
with your thoughts, your comments, your questions, your advice requests, and anything else that you'd like to share with me. I get all of those emails. You can also reach out to me on social media, IG and TikTok at samia.mounts, and follow the show on IG at Closeted with Samia. I'm going to bring you another cute little drop next week. Until then, stay saucy, pine cones. I love your faces so much.
We all got secrets.
Hear that? That's what's called green noise. I'd never even heard of green noise before I discovered the BetterSleep app. Now I can't imagine my life without it. As a long-suffering insomniac and a person with ADHD, hello racing thoughts, BetterSleep has changed my life. Green noise is proven to soothe the mind, improving both relaxation and focus. So whether I need to fall asleep fast or settle in for some focused work, the BetterSleep app has my back, and I'm not alone. BetterSleep has over 65 million downloads. It's been featured in the New York Times, Forbes, and Today, and is an Apple App Store editor's choice. And green noise is just the beginning. The app has dozens of relaxing sounds you can mix together in different combinations depending on your needs. Here's the best part. You can try it for free for 30 whole days with the link bettersleep.com/closeted. That's right. You can get a whole month of great sleep for free. For real, this app is the only reason I'm functioning right now. I used to be so tired. Go try it. bettersleep.com/closeted.